This video is part of a series of SSIS tutorial videos created by COZYROC. In this video, I will show you how to use the fuzzy grouping transformation to correct input data based on other data from the same source. So here you can see the data that I'm using from a table called Commodity Country Table. And this is our input data, and here you can see the very first row has a commodity misspelled. It's supposed to be gold, and it's guild. And then in row 6 we have soybeans instead of soybeans. And in row 9 we have corn D instead of just corn. Fuzzy grouping is going to use other values from the commodity column to make corrections to values that it thinks are incorrect. We expect that it will figure out that soybeans should be spelled with an N based on the correct spelling in row 16. And you can see we have gold spelled correctly in row 8 and corn is spelled correctly in row 5. So let's see if fuzzy grouping can figure that out and make the corrections. All right, so here we are in Visual Studio. I'll go up here and drag the data flow task onto the canvas, and I'll double click, and that'll take us over to configure the data flow, and we'll scroll down to get the OLEDB source to read in the data, and that's coming from the commodity country table. I'll double click to open the editor. We need to set up a new connection manager, and it's in the new tutorials database. And then we'll select the table, which is called Commodity Country Table, and we'll preview it. And there you can see the same data that I was just showing you in Management Studio. And we click OK to close the editor. And now we will go find the fuzzy grouping transformation and drag that onto the canvas. And we'll say fuzzy match commodities. Stay tuned to see how I configure the fuzzy grouping transformation and the rest of the package. And we'll connect the arrow from the source and double click on the fuzzy grouping transformation, and there it's already selected the connection manager I just set up. And we'll look at the columns. So it's already got the pass-through checkbox checked for all 3 columns. And the one that we want to make corrections on is called commodity. And then we'll go over to the Advanced tab, and this is where we can set how much of a match it needs to be in order for it to assume that it's a match and make the correction. So the default is 0.8. I'm going to make it a little bit lower to 0.7. And then it'll create these 3 columns called key in, key out, and score. And the score is based on how close of a match it was before it made the correction. And then key in is here's what it was coming in, and key out is here's what we changed it to. And I think that's all we need to set up there. So we'll close that. Now we'll go down to the OLEDB destination, drag that onto the canvas, connect the arrow, and I'll change this to, we'll call it the fuzzy grouping output. And double click to open the editor. It's selected the connection manager for the new tutorials database. And now we'll select the fuzzy grouping output table. We can view existing, and there you can see it has those additional columns in there that the fuzzy grouping transformation has added, along with our initial columns, commodity, country, and quantity. And we'll close that. And now we click on mappings to map the columns. And there, that's done. So we'll click OK. And I'll save the package. And right mouse click on the package name. Select Execute Package. All right, so completed successfully. And now we'll go take a look at what it put in this fuzzy grouping output table. And so you can see that first row still has guild in it as the commodity clean. So it did not fix that one. And if we scroll down, it's easy to spot what was fixed because there's something in the similarity commodity. And so soybeans was corrected to soybeans, and corn D was corrected to corn. Here's what the documentation on Microsoft's website says about this transformation. It says, the fuzzy grouping transformation performs data cleaning tasks by identifying rows of data that are likely to be duplicates and selecting a canonical row of data to use in standardizing the data. At another point in the documentation, it says that you may have to apply the fuzzy grouping transformation several times using different minimum similarity thresholds to find a similarity threshold that works for your data. Following that suggestion, I tried setting the similarity threshold down to 0.30, and it still didn't correct the spelling of gold. I also tried moving the row with the misspelled version of gold down to a lower row, which was after a row where gold was spelled correctly, and it still didn't correct it. So if you want to be sure your data gets cleaned up, you may want to use a different method. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to follow us on social media, here's how you can do that.